All right. Welcome back, everyone, to part two of our deep dive into modern Indian history.
Yep.
We're tailoring this especially for you UPSC aspirants out there, and of
Mm.
course, anyone with a thirst for this pivotal period.
Absolutely.
Last time we set out on this journey to really understand the figures who shaped modern India.
Yeah.
And today we're focusing on, well, a titan,
Right.
Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
A titan indeed.
You've probably heard him called the Iron Man of India.
Of course. Everyone's heard of the Iron Man of India.
But we're going beyond that label.
Exactly.
You want to understand W.H.Y. Patel was so influential, and what made him tick?
Yeah, what made him tick? It's crucial to remember that Patel wasn't just about firmness.
Right.
He was incredibly strategic and had this deep understanding of how complex India truly is.
Yeah. So how did he develop that strength and insight? I mean, we know he was out there leading Satyagrahas, facing imprisonment, organizing movements like the non-cooperation movement.
Yeah.
This wasn't some politician who just talked the talk.
Exactly. And you know what's fascinating is that this foundation in grassroots activism gave him a real connection with the people.
Uh-huh.
And that became essential later on.
So the integration of those princely states,
Yeah.
565 of them, must have been a monumental undertaking. What were the biggest obstacles he faced?
I mean, imagine the pressure.
Yeah.
You have these hundreds of rulers, each with their own interests and ambitions.
Right.
And the potential for conflict was huge. Patel had to walk a tightrope using diplomacy and persuasion.
Yeah.
But there were times, like in Hyderabad and Junagadh,
Right.
where he had to be firm
Yeah.
to prevent things from spiraling out of control.
So he wasn't afraid to use a firm hand when necessary, but it sounds like it was always a calculated move.
Oh, absolutely.
And ultimately, he achieved something incredible, preventing the balkanization of India.
Yeah,
That's a legacy that still defines India today.
absolutely. But his vision went beyond just keeping India territorially whole.
Okay.
He was thinking about how to make this a functional, unified nation.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. I was reading about his work in championing the linguistic reorganization of states,
Yeah.
like the formation of Gujarat and Maharashtra.
Mm-hmm.
He saw this connection between culture and effective governance, which is something we're still grappling with today.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see that debates about federalism and regional identity in India are still very much alive.
Yeah.
In many ways, Patel was ahead of his time. He understood the importance of recognizing cultural identities
Yeah.
within a unified India.
It's amazing how much foresight he had.
Yeah.
We often learn about these things in textbooks, but it's easy to forget how complex and contentious they were at the time.
Thinking back to those early years of independence, Patel's ability to navigate those complexities to balance unity with diversity, that was truly remarkable.
And speaking of foresight, we can't forget his role in establishing the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service. These are institutions that are still the bedrock of India's administration today.
He understood that a newly independent nation needed a strong administrative framework to manage its affairs. He wanted to ensure that governance was efficient and effective. But he also wanted to move away from that colonial legacy of patronage and favoritism. So he envisioned a civil service that truly served the people.
Yeah.
And that was based on merit and integrity.
It seems like he was trying to build a foundation for a truly modern democratic India. He wasn't just thinking about the immediate challenges, he was looking decades ahead.
It's all connected. He saw that these practical aspects of governance were essential for nation building.
And it wasn't just about the big institutions either. He also focused on things like agriculture and irrigation. Those large-scale projects like the Sardar Sarovar Dam, which aimed to transform India's agricultural landscape, improve food security, and uplift millions of farmers.
These things may seem mundane at first glance,
Yeah.
but they're the building blocks of a nation's success.
So was there any pushback to his vision for these large-scale projects? I mean, they must have been controversial at the time.
There were certainly debates and disagreements. Some argued that these projects were too ambitious, too expensive, or that they would displace communities. But Patel was convinced that these were necessary investments in India's future, and he was willing to fight for them.
It takes a certain kind of leader to have that conviction and that ability to see the long-term benefits even when faced with opposition.
And it's important to acknowledge that some of those concerns about displacement and environmental impact are still relevant today. It's a reminder that progress often comes with trade-offs,
Yeah.
and that those trade-offs need to be carefully considered.
So beyond his focus on governance and development, what about his vision for Indian society itself? He's often quoted as being a champion for unity and diversity, which is a concept that's so central to India's identity.
His commitment to secularism was deeply intertwined with this vision for a harmonious Indian society. He understood that India's strengths lay in its diversity,
Right.
but that this diversity also needed to be carefully nurtured and protected.
His actions during the communal riots, especially in Delhi, really stand out. He didn't shy away from taking decisive action to protect minorities and maintain peace.
He truly believed in India's potential to be a beacon of inclusivity, a place where people of different faiths and backgrounds could coexist peacefully and thrive together.
But wasn't there some criticism of his handling of certain communal situations? How do we reconcile those critiques with his broader vision of secularism?
That's a really important question. You see, Patel's actions were often shaped by the immediate need to restore order and prevent further violence.
Yeah.
In some cases, his critics argue that his approach was too forceful and didn't adequately address the root causes of the conflict. Others maintain that his firm stance was necessary to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control.
It's a complex legacy, isn't it? And it's important to understand that history is rarely black and white. There are often competing perspectives and interpretations, and it's up to us to grapple with those complexities.
That's why it's so crucial to look beyond the simplified narratives
Right.
and engage with the nuances of history.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. We've barely scratched the surface of Patel's life and legacy, and there's still so much more to explore.
Absolutely. We've only just begun to unpack the depth and complexity of his contributions.
So for all of you listening, especially our UPSC aspirants, stick with us. We're going to delve even deeper into Patel's story in the next part of our deep dive. We'll uncover his economic policies, his approach to social reforms, and his role in building those key institutions that continue to shape India today.
We'll also explore some of those criticisms and contradictions, those aspects of his legacy that are still debated and discussed today.
It's going to be fascinating. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this episode so you don't miss part 3. We'll see you back here soon for the continuation of our deep dive into the legacy of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
We'll pick up right where we left off. Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and work of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
You know, it's fascinating to see how Patel's vision for a unified India went so much deeper than just, geography.
Yeah, he truly grasped that real unity needed a system of governance that was strong and efficient.
And that's where his efforts in establishing the Indian civil services come in.
Right.
We're talking about the IAS and IPS institutions that are still the backbone of Indian administration today.
When you think about it, the foresight he had was incredible. He knew that a newly independent India would need a dedicated, skilled group of administrators to handle its complex affairs.
Yeah, and he didn't just create these services, though. He made sure they were built on a foundation of integrity and meritocracy.
That's a crucial point. Patel wanted to break away from that colonial system where who you knew mattered more than what you knew. He envisioned a civil service that served the people, not just the powerful.
It's like he was laying the very groundwork for a modern democratic India.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And his work extended to other crucial areas of nation building as well.
Right. We can't forget his focus on agriculture and irrigation. Those massive projects like the Sardar Sarovar Dam, those weren't just about infrastructure.
Exactly. They were about transforming India's agriculture, boosting food security, and directly improving the lives of millions of farmers.
It's remarkable how Patel connected these seemingly everyday concerns to the grand goal of national development.
And this brings us to another aspect of Patel's vision that we often overlook, his emphasis on public safety and security.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
He was instrumental in establishing a national police force, recognizing that a stable and secure environment was essential for progress.
He understood that without law and order, every other effort to develop the nation would be undermined.
It all circles back to his belief in a unified and functional India.
A vision that encompassed all aspects of national life, not just territorial integrity.
But India was going through some incredibly challenging times back then. Communal tensions, economic hardships, political uncertainties. How did Patel navigate those turbulent waters?
That's where his strength of character and his unwavering commitment to secularism really come into play.
Yeah.
Remember those communal riots, especially in Delhi?
Oh, yeah. A staunch believer in unity and diversity. He didn't hesitate to take decisive action to protect minorities and keep the peace.
His leadership during those difficult times was absolutely vital in preventing the violence from escalating and ensuring the safety of vulnerable communities.
It's remarkable how he managed to hold the nation together during such a fragile period.
His commitment to secularism wasn't just an abstract principle, it was a practical necessity for building a strong and inclusive India.
So as we delve deeper into Patel's legacy, We see a man who was not just a skilled strategist and a nation builder, but also a leader who had a deep sense of justice and compassion.
And that's what makes his story so compelling, so relevant even today.
Because the challenges he faced, the values he stood for, and the vision he laid out still resonate with India's journey as a nation.
And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore the lasting impact of Patel's legacy on India's political, social, and economic landscape. We'll see how his work continues to shape India today.
There's so much more to uncover about the Iron Man of India. Don't miss the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the legacy of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground from his, crucial role in integrating those princely states to his focus on really creating a strong and unified India.
But now I think it's time to tackle the big question. What's Patel's lasting impact? How do his actions from, decades ago still resonate in India today?
That's a great question. To answer it, we have to look at the institutions he was so instrumental in establishing, the values he fought for, and the vision he had for India's future.
Okay, let's start with those institutions. We've talked about the Indian Civil Services, the IAS, and the IPS, and it's hard to overstate their importance. I mean, they really are the pillars of Indian administration.
And Patel was key in setting them up. He ensured they were grounded in meritocracy and a deep commitment to public service. That legacy is still, woven into how India functions today.
Think about it. Every major policy decision, every development project, every law enforcement action, all of that passes through the hands of these civil servants.
That framework, that structure for governance, it's a direct result of Patel's vision.
It's like he created the operating system for modern India.
Exactly. And beyond that administrative structure, we also see Patel's influence in India's deep commitment to secularism and the idea of unity and diversity.
Those are core principles that are written right into India's constitution, and Patel spent his life advocating for them.
We've talked about his actions during those communal riots, his absolute refusal to tolerate division and violence. Those actions set a powerful example for leadership, one that continues to inspire.
Yeah, it shows that true leadership isn't just about having power. It's about responsibility, about standing up for what's right, even when it's incredibly difficult.
And those values are more crucial than ever in today's world. I mean, we're seeing intolerance and polarization on the rise in so many places.
Patel's legacy is like this beacon. It reminds us that India's true strength lies in its incredible diversity, in its ability to embrace different cultures, religions, and languages.
That kind of unity doesn't mean everyone has to be the same. It means respecting and valuing our differences while still working together towards a shared goal.
That's a powerful message. But Patel's legacy isn't just about lofty ideals. It's also present in the everyday realities of India.
Absolutely. Think about the agricultural policies he championed, those irrigation projects he initiated. Those efforts are still shaping India's rural landscape and its food security today.
It's amazing how decisions made decades ago can have such a profound impact on millions of people, even now.
It highlights the importance of thinking long-term, of investing in infrastructure and development that will benefit generations to come.
And that's why studying figures like Patel is so essential. It's not just about memorizing names and dates for an exam.
Right. It's about understanding the forces that have shaped India, the challenges the nation has overcome, the values it has stood by.
It's about connecting the dots between the past and the present, so we can better understand the complexities of the India we live in today.
And ultimately, it's about appreciating the contributions of those who dedicated their lives to building a stronger, more unified, and more prosperous India.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you've gained a richer understanding of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He wasn't just the Iron Man, but a true visionary leader, a pragmatist who got things done, and an architect of modern India.
His legacy is multifaceted and continues to shape India's journey as a nation.
And we encourage all of you to keep exploring history to learn more about those who have shaped India's destiny.
Because by understanding our past, we can better navigate the present and create a future that honors their sacrifices and their vision.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep exploring the rich tapestry of Indian history. We'll see you next time.